Hello, welcome to Tech with Peter and Banugo. My name is Peter, and joining me today is Manuel, or probably Manu as he has in his handle. And today we are going to talk about web performance, core vitals. Probably Manuel will take us from beginning to advance. Hopefully, I can be a pro after today. And thank you so much for accepting my invite, Manuel. Maybe do a little bit introduction about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me here, Peter. Yeah, I'm also excited to be here. I'm always keen to discuss SEO in general and where I can, technical SEO more specifically. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. And well, I'm Manuel. Manu for friends. I just feel Manu is a bit nicer, friendlier. But up to you. Manuel, Manu, Tony Stark for some people.
Yeah, I like the
um,
photo.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Now I'm kind of aging, so I'm more lean towards Doctor Doom probably rather than Iron Man. But
Yeah.
I used to have that a lot. Uh, yeah, in terms of background, I mean, just shortly, but I'm been in marketing and in the SEO for I think it's 15 years now. I spent many years being self-employed. I was running my own small local agency, doing pretty much, a bit of everything. So focusing on web design, building sites, and then, as long as you were building sites for the clients that wanted to be in first page of Google. So I was also doing SEO, and then also a bit of paid campaign, newsletter, social media, a bit of everything. Really, I was working closely with my partner. I used to have a team of people, supporting us. But then, as soon as I became a father, like oh gosh, it's like 6 years ago or so now. I moved to a more permanent role, working, in house first for a travel operator, covering, yes, both paid campaign and SEO at the beginning. And then I moved from there around COVID time, but more to an agency role, covering pretty much technical SEO, working on large migration, international website. And then from there, I moved, like, became more senior, started to manage teams. Now I work for Publicis, actually Performix, which is under the bigger group Publicis in London. I'm an SEO account director, and again, I'm working on large, big clients, supporting with all that's needed, not just technical SEO, but mainly technical SEO, but also growth strategy content and so on.
Did you say SEO manager for Publicis?
No, SEO account director at the minute. Yeah,
So focusing heavily on SEO, technical SEO.
yeah. I'm trying to cover a bit of everything, and then plus I'm really passionate about SEO. If you ask my colleagues, I'm always spamming, the Teams chat with links, updates, and also I'm trying to, do a lot of public speaking. I've been speaking 3 times at the Brighton SEO, both
Oh,
the last two this year, in October and April, I think, but both of them. And yeah,
yeah.
in the last one, I've been covering Cover Vital, so I ran a workshop for Cover Vital, so which is
Yeah.
really relevant.
I didn't attend, but I saw the post about you and I said, oh, this I would like to have you on, especially when it says advanced, web vitals and workshop. I'm like, yeah, I think I also spoke to a previous Brighton SEO speaker, Eman Lukim. Maybe you know him from the
Okay.
conference as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was quite an engaging session. So I'm looking forward to this.
Hmm.
And maybe I start off with a question, which, like I see you have a background like web design, SEO, user experience,
Hmm.
social media as well. And what would you say, how would you define web performance, especially how it relates to like SEO and user experience?
So the best platform, or
No, how you would define what in your mind would you say web performance is? Because I think for different people, web performance means
uh
something
yes,
different.
yeah,
To
as a
some, it's
definition.
just called web vitals. To
Mm,
some, like especially from your background with SEO and user experience, you can have a more holistic or cross-functional definition to it?
That's the thing. It's usually a question, I have from clients and even internally. So to put simply, speed performance or speed optimization, it's something that everybody understands. So, if you say cover vitals, pretty much, yeah, it's more technical, but everybody understand what it's about and what and why you need to do it. Speed performance, speed optimization, again, it's really straightforward. And if you say so and discuss with clients, it's clear it's an SEO thing. Then you work with that because you want to optimize speed performance. How the page load essentially is the performance, how fast the page is, and all the connected metrics. But more appropriately, so I prefer where I can. So when people understand me, to say web performance because it's wider. So essentially, when you optimize for speed, there is also a correlation, or it's not just about the speed metrics, but it's also about UX, engagement factor. For example, time spent on page, or what the users, how the user interact with the page, which is not just related to speed, but
Yeah,
it's also other elements. So that's why when you say web performer, it's a bit broader, it's a bit more comprehensive, and then, as you said, it's a bit more holistic. So when you say speed performance, it's like SEO and devs straight away, and then there is a correlation. You may have discussion with the paid teams as well, because we can discuss a bit better, but there are implication and cross correlation between some of the metrics,
yeah,
from which like SEO can impact on paid campaigns, and the other way around. But
yeah,
web performance, it's the broader picture because it also touches on, you might have discussion with the product team, the marketing team. It's a bit broader, and you check all the elements all together. So how the users are perceiving the page, and also how they interact with the page. Of course, speed performance is like inside it, but it's like a part of what you can discuss. So I usually prefer web performance, which is a bit broader. But again, when you say web performance, you may have clients that don't understand.
yeah,
So you need to say, okay, speed performance.
yeah. And to some also, it's more like just SEO and that
Yeah,
they care about.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I think thanks for sharing that definition of perspective. It's easier to also, see when we discuss today how where from your frame of reference when you talk about it, and hopefully we get to touch about this element you mentioned when you spoke about it. So we can get in a bit into the details. So I'm not sure how we would do this exactly, but do you have any preference? Something you
Um,
prepared or want to show, or how should we go about this?
but it is the same. I mean, for me, I did prepare something previously. Again, I presented, the workshop at the Brighton SEO about cover vitals.
Yeah,
I mean, I won't bore you. I mean, it was a quite nice section because I had a lot of people interacting with me. They were stopping me and asking questions, which is not the usual format. So usually the Brighton SEO, when you do your talk, you discuss your bits, your project for 20 minutes. You just try to present it in a clear way, engaging way, but that's it. With the workshop this year, they tried, I mean, the Brighton SEO team, they tried to have another format where you can really interact with the audience. And that worked for me because I had a lot of people stopping me, which I liked a lot. They asked me a lot of questions. So, but it was like a 70-minute, 90-minute section. So I won't repropose everything,
yeah, okay.
but maybe we can start from some of the slides. I've got some introduction slides, maybe trying to explain what the cover vitals are, and then if you like, I mean, we can take it from there. We can discuss, we can improvise, really.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine, and I can also ask questions along the way. But I think you also said you have a few questions we can start with. So
Yes, I didn't want to scare you, but I've got
yeah,
some question, like a mini quiz. It is really simple, but essentially, yeah, I can share some slides and ask you slash the audience. But I mean, you'll be the only one answering, those questions. Um,
yeah, yeah. Shoot for it. Hopefully, I'm able to do good and not look dumb.
Okay. No, no, it's super simple. Then I mean, maybe I can also suggest you. No, it's super simple. Don't worry. Can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Okay. So also, sorry. I mean, I'm using three screens now. I'm trying to look at the camera, but if you see my eyes going around,
no problem.
apologies, but it's um. So yeah. Yeah, I've got, as said, I prepare like a small quiz just to see, how much we know, or what we think about the cover vitals, and we can start from there. It's really simple, but for example, when we discuss and we speak about, the performance score in Google Page Speed Insights, which is normally one of the most used tools, most known tools when you discuss speed performance or web performance. Um, what you think, or from what you know, what is the good score for your experience? So based on the performance score you can see in PHP Insights, what is a good score?
I would say from your options, 90 and above.
Hmm. Yes, nailed it. So it's super simple. Yeah, good score it's 90 and above. Whether need optimization, but say an average score, good enough score, it's between 50 and 89, and a very bad score is like 50. Now, I'm asking this because essentially, yes, it's important to use PageSpeed Insight to assess and have a score, based on how your website is performing. But we never have to over obsess about the score, because even if you score like 50, anyway, you'll be essentially in between the 30% of the site worldwide that are performing good.
Ah,
So
okay.
50% of the score means you are anyway in the 30% better website overall. You need to optimize, which is good to know, but I mean, you don't have to score 100, for to have like a good performing site, good enough.
But is this for like performance or accessibility? Because I think there are three
It's all
criteria.
together. Yeah, yeah. We can check later in more details, but the performance score in PageSpeed Insight, it's essentially it includes different metrics. Yes, you have part of accessibility. You don't have just the cover vitals. We can check together
Okay,
how to say it, but it's an assessment of different metrics put all together to tell you how good you are performing overall. It's not
okay.
just it's mainly speed, but not just the cover vitals. Say. Yeah, but it's a good question. We can see the details together. Um, then, in your opinion, when we compare Amazon, Google, and Wikipedia, which one is scoring under out of 100% in the page performance score, if any?
I haven't really checked about Google.com, but I'm tempted to say Amazon, but
Mhm.
then Wikipedia is usually like mostly text content, so I think probably Wikipedia.
Mm. Or maybe
I'd
not
go
Google,
for,
because if you think about Google, it's really simple, usually like plain, and and it's Google. I mean, they should perform.
but I would say Wikipedia. Maybe I'm wrong.
Wikipedia. Okay. None of them. So, there was a tricky one, but again, not even Google, not even those sites, which they're usually very simple if you think about the layout, and
Yeah,
but none of them are performing 100% and not consistently. So you know, it's just to say again, it's good to know where you sit when you assess, the score for your performance, but try to achieve 100 out of 100. Not even Google is scoring 100. So,
I
over
think
obsessing and maybe pushing the devs to obtain 100%, maybe it's not right the case. I mean, it depends. Yeah.
I think that's quite interesting because in recent times, probably maybe this year and the past 2 years, I think there's been this obsession, especially with Lighthouse Core. I mean, before Core Web App, for people that build web apps with JavaScript frameworks, like we're always optimizing for 100, overall. In fact, that's also part of the marketing lingo for these frameworks that, oh, you get 100 over 100, like with Astro and whatnot. And,
Yeah.
people fight over it. But I think
I
now
mean,
it's like not obsessing over it.
I mean, I'll say something a bit odd, but in SEO, I mean, as SEOs, I mean, we like to say everything depends. So it depends. I've got like a technical SEO background, so I'm really keen, and I think it's important for people to understand the value of technical SEO. And I'm really happy when people are understanding the value of speed performance, web performance, or a faster
Yeah,
page. Now, that said, it really depends because there is no value in over obsessing and try to achieve the highest score possible. One, because yes, speed performance, it is a ranking factor. So cover vitals are a ranking factor. And we can check together. I've got the latest SEMrush report, but out of all the ranking factor, so the correlation and what speed cover vitals bring into the table, it's really minimal. So it's really more impactful, for example, the traffic, other factor, or the rating, the feature snippet presence, uh, backlink authority. Cover vitals are yes ranking factor, but if you check all the ranking factor, it's very minimal. That said, it is important to optimize because it's not just because it's a ranking factor, there is a correlation. So even if you don't see directly, but a faster page translate to the user engaging more, maybe browsing more pages per session. So in the same time they browse more pages, they go to more pages,
hmm,
they interact more, there is lower bounce rate. The slower the page is, then a user get annoyed and maybe it's leaving the site.
yeah,
That by correlation translates to a poorer quality, then maybe potentially lower ranks. You don't see directly when you assess the core vitals, there is a correlation, but meaning it is important to optimize and have a good enough score. It is important to try to achieve a high score when, say, you have competitors in your niche that are overperforming you. So
oh yeah,
when you compare your website against competitors and backlinks are similar, ranking is similar, SERP presence, you are as visible as your competitors in feature snippet, for example, then speed can be a differentiating factor because if they're faster than you, then you should try to fill the gap or be faster than them.
okay,
But in your experience, I'm sure your experience, you saw very slow website, they're in first position, ranking better than competitors. So it really depends. Content is king. So it's priority. You optimize your website based on the content and backlinks, and
yeah,
then you also focus on speed.
yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, why we're going to the next slide? You mentioned technical SEO. I wouldn't see myself as an
Mhm,
SEO expert yet.
mhm.
But what is technical SEO?
Yeah, technical SEO.
Briefly.
Yeah, briefly. I mean, back in the day, so technical SEO, if you ask me like 10 years ago, technical SEO was essentially the analysis on page elements, so metadata, internal links. Now it's a bit more because, as you said, now there is a big emphasis, a big importance for JavaScript rendering. Essentially because the technology is evolving and the website are trying to appeal more. The users providing more dynamic content, more integration, use of AI, for example, to change the content. Then there are some risks uh, around how the search engines are able to read the content if you use a lot of JavaScript, a lot of integrations, a lot of so technical SEO is one. All of that is it's essentially ensuring that all the scripts code you have in the place is being seen by search engines.
Okay.
You use schema markup to help search engines to read the content, but it's also about then making sure all the foundation so that your website is indexed. Everything is being read and seen by search engine. So is it your website crawlable? So if you have 100 pages, but the search engines are able to see 2 pages, I mean, you can write whatever you want, but it's all wasted. So
Yeah.
technical theory is looking at all of this and also try to understand how the search engines, the bots, are crawling and reading the site.
I see.
Yeah. And then essentially you've got all the elements in place to then make sure you you index well, you're crawlable, and also, and especially when you work on migrations, that's where technical SEO becomes more important, because then you need to check stuff like redirects, legacy pages. You map everything.
Yeah.
If you have like large websites, so you've got a lot of translation, international pages. Also, hreflang tags are key. You need to make sure essentially you map everything to avoid duplications. Um, yeah, is it
Yeah.
answering your question, or is it too complicated? Try to.
No, no. I think he answered my question
Mhm,
about like what actually it means,
mhm,
and I think you do it.
yeah, but it's an important one, because again, because my 80% of my background is around technical SEO. Usually when you discuss strategies, there is a big emphasis, or they usually put a lot of importance around content, which is, again, content is key. You need to provide unique content. You need to provide useful content to users. This is also what Google is trying to achieve with all the latest updates and so on. But technical SEO is the foundation, so it's really important. So technical SEO is not just metadata or internal links,
Yeah.
but is making sure that essentially what you write, or what you achieve on the site, is being seen, is in the right place. Because otherwise, it's like writing a good book but in a language that no one can read, so it's like you waste it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to dig more, not on the meta tag part, but more onto the technical SEO area. I have a book. I think it's called Programming SEO, but I
Mm,
haven't read it yet. So
okay.
um, maybe soon.
Yeah, we can further discuss. I'm organizing some podcasts as well on technical SEO with OnCrawl. So you may see my face, but we are discussing specifically technical SEO, pitfalls and challenges. um, which is, yeah, cover vitals is one, but also log file analysis.
Maybe
You know,
you can share the link in the end and I drop it in the show note, but also for myself to check out the podcast.
yeah, yeah. But again, always keen to discuss technical SEO more specifically. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I guess maybe we can jump to the second question, to the other question. Um, yeah, this is more specific, and it's around why optimizing speed for speed is important. So, in your opinion, what percentage of users will abandon a page if it takes more than 3 seconds to load?
More than 3 seconds.
Hmm.
Uh, Probably 25%.
25. Yeah. So your answer is like in between. Let's see if it's the correct one. No, it was actually the worst case scenario. So this is coming from a study Google performed. I think it was from Google, but essentially there is a direct correlation between how slow and how much time the page takes to load, and conversions, and the user engagement. Because the slower the page is, the higher is the percentage of people leaving, or not converting, not interacting with the page. So if the page is taking more than 3 seconds to load, then pretty much half of the people coming to the website are leaving the page,
Yeah.
which is huge if you think about it.
Yeah, I'm just curious how like the geographic distribution of that data, because now I have a faster internet. So if I do 3 seconds, then yes, I'm most likely to just quit or do something else. But when I had a slower internet, and also when I used to live in Lagos and sometimes I had issues with the internet, I find it receptive because I assume it's my network bandwidth being slow. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it is a very good point, and that's why when we discuss statistics like this, we always need to mention essentially the settings with which all the tests have been performed. I mean, in general, if you also think about page speed score, Google is testing everything with set conditions. So
Okay.
they're checking everything using, I think it's like a medium 4G connection. for example,
Yeah.
and they use that to gather all the data and then make their assessment on quality. But as you say, it depends, because if you are like living in a country where generally and overall the speed connection is lower, then in your experience, maybe 3 seconds is the average. So you are used to wait more.
Yeah.
Tendentially, we are becoming more spoiled because
Mm-hmm.
we are having faster connection, we're having 5G even on mobile. Mobile is key because, yeah, essentially Google is now evaluating pages based on mobile performance. It's mobile first, but also
Yeah.
mobiles are becoming faster. uh, Before, we used to check stuff on mobile and then go back home and maybe buying stuff or making our bookings from the desktop because we were feeling safer, it was a faster connection. Nowadays, usually people are buying where they try to work, really, in the morning or in the evening when they have time, they use mobile, they
Yeah.
buy because it's faster. But yeah, you're right, you might have differences based on the country you're living in or the connection, but it's really important to check the testing conditions. And yeah, Google, for example, before it was using 3G, I think, as a standard. Now is using 4G,
4G.
so it's also using faster connection to test.
Yeah. I would say if I was close to the London metro, I would also accept 3 seconds.
Yeah, or maybe you just leave the site because I don't know, but I mean, especially peak time, you're just annoyed about life, so so,
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't leave the you leave the mobile phone somewhere because no, no, just joking. But, oh, no, yeah, it was a really, really interesting question, actually. So it all depends, and it's key to see the testing conditions. Yeah. But anyway, there is a correlation. Like more time translates to more people leaving the sites or not
Yeah.
converting. Yeah, yeah. I may have another one to remember, but yeah, yeah, this is a funny one. But because the topic of today is, yeah, web performer, but also cover vitals. So what are the cover vitals?
I like the first option.
Would you go for the first one or?
No. The
Yeah, also because the number B, the B one, it's quite, yeah, it's cool to discuss Cover Vital because you want to impress your boss or your client, with cool stuff.
yeah. I'm tempted to say C.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
Like
I spoiled it.
it's
Yeah,
fine. I would not go for
for the
A
B.
because A sounded like something related to gym.
Yeah, I mean, in some way, it's also to impress, but not to impress Google, but essentially Google is providing you a way to assess, how good the website is. But what they want to achieve is to try to understand from a user perspective, how visually appealing or visually interactive your website is, or fast
Yeah.
it is. And so they're trying to put in place all these metrics, this system they call Cover Vitals, to then for you to understand how you perform and then take action. But think about the Cover Vitals as a personal trainer. So, or actually rules from your personal trainer to then understand how you perform and then make the right amendments or corrections.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I also feel like sometimes it's like a way to impress Google search because I think core web vitals is not fully supported in like Firefox and Safari. I know they are pushing for it because
Yeah,
I also upvoted for some issues on the interrupt GitHub issue, but
yeah.
I think it's mainly Google. So
It is, yeah. I mean, yes, this is a broader conversation, and I won't go in conspiracies theories, but
yeah,
you know, I mean, Google is the largest search engines. I mean, if you don't consider YouTube, but if you check the market share,
which is
Google.
also part of Google.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly, exactly. But I mean, for different verticals. So if you think about organic search and SERPs, then Google is still having, at least in Europe and US,
yeah,
globally mainly, but Google is still having like 90% of the market share, where the Bing is having 3-4%, increasing now because of ChatGPT and
Yeah.
other conversations, but it's still the biggest, the most used. Now, tendentially, especially younger generation, they're using ChatGPT, that they will be using ChatGPT more, they're using
Hmm.
TikTok, they're
Yeah.
using, Instagram, they're using Reddit, so they're using other platform to perform searches, especially younger generations, but still Google is the most used. And that's why, it's important to understand how they evaluate stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a bit like a dog like chasing his own tail. So Google is trying to put in place ways of understanding what the user want. And we as SEOs, we want to make Google happy, but at the end of the day, Google is trying to make users happy.
Yeah.
So
True.
so uh, you're right. We need to make Google happy, but at the end of the day, if we remove Google from the equation, is because to make sure users are happy.
I
Uh,
agree.
yeah, the day where Google will lose market share, we will maybe using TikTok. I mean, maybe we will have other ways, but still, it's important to find a way to evaluate.
True. Yeah. And also with the rise of like tools like Perplexity, if you've
Yes,
used it, but I think, and also Chat GPT search. So maybe
yes, yes.
would be a bit different. But I think it will still boil down to maybe a similar metric. It might not be the same metric today because it keeps evolving, like based on research and testing. But I
Exactly.
think they still boil down to giving you data in order to know how to impress your user because they already have this big data and they can tell you what's good and what's bad.
Exactly. And I don't know how much familiar you are when we discuss, when we mention, field data and lab data, but that's specific this. So essentially, I think I've got some slides. I can scroll fast forward, but I mean, if you want to discuss again what cover vitals are and what are the main metrics, but essentially, again, speed optimization is important because it translates on how the users are interacting, engaging, and converting on your site directly. So better your experience, highest return visit, lower bounce rate. So and then our conversion. So at the end of the day, when you discuss performance with your with your clients and a business,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's good to discuss if you're an SEO visits, rankings, speed, but what a business care, it's money, so it's conversions. So at the end of the day, you optimize speed because it will translate to more money, to more revenue. There are
Yeah.
also correlation because a faster page also translate into better quality score. So the quality score is a metric that paid campaigns are using in Google Ads,
Ah,
and
okay.
inside the quality score, so it's like a combined metrics, but there is speed performance, so how fast the page is. There is also keyword relevancy, for example, and engagement metrics. But say a faster page translate to a better quality score, and a better quality score in paid campaigns translate into a lower cost per click. So directly, if you optimize the speed and a page is faster, you spend less to achieve the same clicks on a paid campaign. So,
That's
so
interesting. I
yeah,
didn't know of that or
yeah,
would never even think of that.
yeah. So see, there is a direct correlation between paid and SEO, and then also why, for example, optimizing speed is also a cross-channel, a more holistic thing, not just for SEOs, but for money, for revenue, for ROI. Um, and then yeah, I'll go quickly, but those are essentially the latest Google update. So Google update introduced the cover vitals, to try to understand again what the users are experiencing when going to the website. They also in 2016 started to discuss mobile first, but it's been in 2021 when they finalize it because more and more people are using mobile. So it's essentially key to see how your website is performing on mobile devices rather
Hmm.
than desktop. So Google is evaluating everything on the mobile and also discussing, cover vitals and speed metrics because it's key to understand what the users are experiencing and for you as a webmaster to understand how to optimize. Um, yeah, there is also, an impact on the environment. Faster website translating less resources used.
Yeah.
If you think about, I mean, put simply, but also on your mobile, like, yeah, it's a matter of maybe seconds or a fraction of seconds, but a faster website means if you're paying for your connection, essentially you use less data, you
Hmm.
use less battery, but also to maintain like a website, the heavier the website is, if you think about a hosting, the more resources you need, and so on. But also there is also a correlation, a calculation between the megabytes, so how heavy the page is, and how CO2, so the carbon footprint of the page is. So the heavier the page is, the more CO2 is
Yeah.
produced. So which is interesting. So the faster the website is, the more environmentally friendly is. How we can measure all of that? Cover Vitals. So that's why we're discussing Cover Vitals. And the Cover Vitals, so Google is defining three main metrics, which is LCP, largest control paint, first input delay, content layout shift, as a way to understand what's impacting, the content you see, and how fast is the page providing, the content. Uh, how fast is the page responding to interactions when a user clicks something, buttons, or does something on the page, and then when the page is loading, is the user also experiencing shift? You might have seen this, like very slow website, or when you use like frameworks like WordPress, you usually need to stick to themes and templates. You don't have like freedom to optimize.
Yeah.
And what you see usually is the page loads and then things on the screen start shifting,
Yeah,
because
especially
maybe,
with the images or things that load in the background.
yeah, or when you start adding plugins. So if you start adding, for example, the cookie consent, which is something external,
Yeah.
then maybe when the page load, you see it's
True.
shifting, the fonts are changing. So Google is measuring all of this to try to assess how you're performing on this. All of this is evolving, so Google is trying to fine tuning and find the best way to represent, and for you to understand what you need to optimize. For example, the FAD is the cover vital they used to use, but they replace it with another one, with the IMP, the interaction to next paint, just because it's a bit more comprehensive. So the FAD used to essentially check one interaction. So the user may be clicking on something on the page and you were monitoring just that interaction, where the IMP is checking all the interactions overall. So it's a bit more, you
More
know,
holistic.
more holistic and more comprehensive. But yeah, and then it's very, very, very technical. Uh, yeah, I think it's pretty much that. Then the way also, yeah, going to the field and lab data. I'll go fast on this. We can discuss if you want, but the two main differences are. I've got a quick test here again, if you want. Okay, let's ask you. Let's see. So, what is the main difference between field data and lab data? So we can take it from there.
So, second of, so data is collected in a controlled environment. I
Yeah,
think I think another word people use for this is more like synthetic data and real user monitoring.
exactly. It's exactly that. The first was funny because field data is it's collected in open air, like in the countryside. But I mean, make me laugh. No, yeah, you're right. So essentially, it's the difference between synthetic data or real world data. Essentially, field data is the real world data. Lab data is synthetic data, and what you usually have when you use specific tools in SEO, but also when you use page speed insight. Yeah, I mean, we are discussing this. I'll go fast.
Yeah, I think page speed inside also gives you both like field
Yes,
data and lab
yes,
data. But a lot of devs I know are so used to Lighthouse. Even me myself in the past, like it was always Lighthouse, especially when you measure it from your laptop and you think, oh, I have a good performance.
exactly. There is a lot. Yes, there are main differences. So in PageSpeed Insight was, as you mentioned, Lighthouse, but in PageSpeed Insight, you've got both. So when you check at the top, when you put your health and you see the performance at the top, essentially at the top, you've got field data. It's easy to see that because field data essentially is a statistical representation. So what they do, they collect real world data. They gather all the data based on real world people, real people using different devices, different speed connections, and they put all together for the last 28 days of your
Okay.
website, and they provide you a statistical representation. So what you see here, and that's why you see these bars, is the 75% percentile of what usually your users are saying, meaning
Okay.
70% of the time of all the collected data is this number. But if you expand, if you, for example, click on the expand view, you can see all the times that users are experiencing a good performance, all the time the users are experiencing a okay
But
performance,
okay.
all the time. So the number you see again is the 75% of the times, say, and that's what Google is using to evaluate. But if you expand, you also see all the other cases, which is also good to see.
Yeah.
And if you pay attention, they also tell you, this is field data because it's a collection of real data, for the latest 28 days. On the other
Yeah.
side,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I wanted to say something on the last slide because it wasn't that visible. I'm not sure if it's because of the your big screen or, but for anyone watching and you don't really see it, if you go to Page Speed Insight and you put a website and analyze it, you would get something similar to what you see, even if you don't see the actual um, data. It still feels blurry. I think maybe because it's on a bigger screen.
yeah, maybe because of bigger. But I say,
Yeah.
you see now, I'm sharing the page speed inside for the Brighton SEO. I was also analyzing your blog, but I mean, for this one, I just put that. But you can see, I mean, at the top, I can show you directly from PageSpeed Insight. At the top, you've got the field data. If you expand, you can see you've got a breakdown. So you've got the number of time, 89% of the time, users are experiencing a good LCP.
Yeah,
Then 90%, you see.
it's still blurry from the browser.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Maybe I can try to run it and show it from my screen and then we talk about it. But
it's too blurry.
yeah, or
Is it?
maybe
Is it?
move it to your laptop and try from there. Maybe,
Um,
or maybe for the browser one, maybe if you zoom in more. But I'm not sure why it looks that blurry.
Oh, because yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm sharing the screen from the laptop, and I've got both the
Yeah.
browser, the
And I think, but anyway, we can just
yeah,
ignore that. I think it's something with the, I don't know, maybe the screen
connection,
or the
yeah.
connection. Yeah, I think the connection is also not that great sometimes. So
Mm. So see why a fast connection is important. uh, but yeah, I mean, put simply, yeah, maybe it's something you the audience can check. But at the top, when you use page speed inside, what you see at the top is the field data, so it's real world data. And if on the right you click on expand view, you can see all the breakdown. But
okay.
this is a collection of data in a set period for the last 28 days. Let me know if you also see, or this one is blurred. Let me. When you scroll down, essentially, you've got something like this. You've got the performance score,
Yeah.
and then below, this is lab data. So if you pay attention, you've got the testing condition they use. So they tell you this is what we see when we are testing synthetically using this condition. So they use a 4G slow connection. They use a Motorola emulated, but Motorola phone. And then most of the time, I think they crawl from US, but you can also use tools to specify the location. But anyway, this is synthetic data. This is what they see when they reproduce the performance using set conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the main difference between the two. Field data is important because one is what they're using as a ranking factor. So they're checking field data. So the cover vitals, that we always discuss, that's field data. That's what they look, and this is coming from real people, real data. Lab data is also important when you are discussing implementation with devs, because essentially you can, for example, if you're working on migration or you're working on implementation, it's good to have a benchmark, see performance before,
Yeah.
discuss with the devs, then after the release, check what we have given the same conditions for that test.
Can you come again on that, please?
Yeah, so essentially, given you always use the same condition for the test, you can essentially see what's happening before and after a release or implementation of the
Okay.
page. You cannot really use field data because that's a collection of 28 days. So if you need to, for example, test something before or after migration, there is no way you need to wait, to see, the impact on field data. But also it's good to, you can use some tools to estimate the impact of some changes even before doing the changes. So you specify the condition, you test beforehand and after, before a release, and then you can discuss with the devs, but you can keep track, you
Yeah,
know
I think the something I like from the latest Chrome release in the dev tools is from the performance tab. Now you can compare field data and your local data. So when you go to the performance tabs and you browse through your website, so what you see there, you see side by side the field data and your local data. But that's if it already collected field data.
exactly.
Yeah. So since
Yep.
the site was a bit blurry, I was
Hmm.
thinking maybe I share a bit from
Yep.
PHP Insight, and we can just do a very quick rundown of what you just showed from my own screen. But
Yep.
hopefully, I hope I have the permission to share screen.
I hope the presentation was good. Were you able to see the slides, or were the
I
blurred?
was able to see the slide, just the like on the core Web Vitals
Oh,
images, some part was very blurry, but I could understand what you mean because I've checked
okay.
the tools
Okay.
a few times. So I think maybe if you stop sharing.
I should have stopped sharing. Yes.
Ah, okay. Probably from my setup. So I just highlight this. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is from my website. Probably it doesn't have field data because I did a Google search linking some data, and maybe that's why. But
Yes.
this one is the lab data from what it ran, like you said.
Exactly. Yeah. As you said, this is also another difference because if the website is new, so again, for the field data, you need 28 days. So if you make changes or the site is newer than 28 days, then you won't see field data.
Yeah.
But also it depends on, you may have accessibility issues. So even if the website is older, but Google is not able to come and see and assess the cover vitals, then
Yeah.
you won't see field data, for example. But lab
Yeah.
data you'll see because essentially it's Google using those conditions. So the one, yeah, the
So
one
kind
you
of
are,
like lighthouse score on
it,
your laptop.
it is the same. So
Yeah.
this is Lighthouse. This is coming from Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yes, the only difference is when you use PageSpeed Insights, this is coming from, essentially they're checking everything using this page hosted on somewhere on the server. So the fact that you're using this page doesn't really affect the performance. Whereas when you use dev tools, so essentially when you right click and use Lighthouse from DevTools, Inspect Tools,
Yeah.
it really depends on your connection, because maybe you're struggling that day, you're having like a slower than the usual connection. You'll see different scores. You're using a lot of extensions and plugins in Chrome,
Yeah.
that's also impacting the score, so you have to be careful. The best way to do this is browsing incognito and then checking, for example, Lighthouse score, because the more extension you'll have, the slower and worse performance you'll see in Lighthouse,
Yeah.
for example.
So so for this one I can see like, okay, I have a total blocking time, maybe because I have new blog posts with large images at the top.
Yeah, you can see below, for example, again, from Pages Inside, you can use other tools like Web Page Test. It's a
Yeah.
bit more granular, and you've got also recommendation of what to do more specifically. I mean, total blocking time, you see, you've got potentially big images, a
True.
lot of JavaScript,
Yeah, because
yeah, and third party. So I didn't see specifically, but maybe you're using like something like WordPress, using a
it,
theme and
it's kind of like WordPress. It's a blogging platform which
mm,
called Hashnode, and yeah, I've thought of maybe doing my own blog myself, but then taking the time to set it all up,
yeah.
it would take much time, so I just ignore it.
I know. I mean, it's like when you discuss with doctors or a dresser, like they don't have time. They've got time for clients, but not for themselves. And
Yeah,
actually, I used to build website and still doing some side works. But if you check my website now, it's under construction because I never have time. But it's been
yeah,
under construction now for 6 months or more, so I don't have time.
yeah. Maybe if I get the time, I would redo it myself because I'm also frustrated. So there are a lot of things I want to change, like the newsletter feature from the platform. It's quite bad. Like I
Mm,
can't connect it to like ConvertKit or do any other stuff, and so I wanted something more granular and more control. So maybe
mm.
in the future I would do something for myself.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. If you want, we can collaborate. Or I can. No, but I mean, I had a quick look, and the blog looks nice. So in terms of content, it was really good.
Yeah,
So
trying.
yeah, time
uh,
is time is never enough. I've got also two kids on my side, so that they're consuming me now. So I've got no time for anything. But
Yeah, I have my first kid now,
mm,
and
wow,
like the phase is quite like an interesting phase because you get to do a lot of things, just you, me, and my wife, and it's not easy. So I'm trying to. I have a lot of ideas for things to do, but then so little
yes,
time.
you need to clone yourself. I mean, I'm the same. Yeah, congratulations. How old is your baby? Oh,
Yesterday was 9 months, so
oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, we can discuss maybe in 2 years' time. But the initial years are, I think, the toughest because they don't have a sleeping routine. You really struggle with sleeping.
yeah.
Um, yeah, okay, I've been
It,
there. No, no. I mean, mine are. I've got two kids, two boys. The oldest is 6 years now. The youngest is 3 years and a half. So now they sleep at least.
yeah.
Uh, they started to fight between each other, but that's another.
That's also another phase.
Yes,
Like it's like a long process, and I mean we knew what we're going into before we did it, but
exactly.
we were not expecting it to be as tricky.
That's why it's easier to discuss speed performance than know, knowing what to do with kids, because
You
yeah, you
improvise
keep
too.
learning, you keep yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're right on time. So I don't, although we started late, so I don't know how much time you still have free, and if there are more stuff you want to that are important that you want to talk about before we wrap up.
No, I think it's fine. Again, I mean, there is much more we can discuss, but I don't know. I think as a maybe introduction and general discussion, I think we cover pretty much everything in terms of why speed is important, what the core vitals are. Honestly, I could discuss for hours. So it depends. But No, no. I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything. I don't know if you have any other specific questions or.
Not specific. I was, like I didn't plan any specific one because, I want to just ask as we go. What I was hoping to also see was like maybe for devs, like how you if you use the dev tools, how to check this performance panel, and maybe sometimes when you talk about improving JavaScript or some of those other kind of issues, like how to spot it when you measure it from your laptop, and you know ideas to fix it, but most specifically how to measure it and understand those flame graphs or issues. So I don't know if it's part of what was in your slide that we
Yeah,
couldn't cover.
yeah, I can cover. Maybe we can discuss, but I can also maybe show one tool. So overall, it depends on the scale. So essentially, if you're working on a small website, small clients, I guess it still makes sense to use maybe spot opportunities, a recommendation from page speed insights, for example, because
What
you can
opportunity?
for example, the one you shared before. So
Oh,
when you scroll
space.
down, yeah, yeah, with the recommendation, for example, resize the images,
Yeah,
use WebP. But usually, so two things. One, when you use PageSpeed Inside, yes, you've got something useful you can start discussing. And sometimes you've got a specific recommendation. For example, Google is able to see which platform and CMS you use. So sometimes in PageSpeed Insights, in the recommendation, you have, hey, you need to reformat the images, use this plugin because you're using WordPress, for example. That's handy. But if you start working on biggest sites, and you've got like a dedicated dev team, which is not one person but it's like a team, then I think PageSpeed Insight to this tool are not enough, because you might be willing keep track of how the cover vitals are, changing over time. You've got tools where you can do it, but I think custom scripting. So essentially, you can develop like a proper tracking template in Google Sheets using the, for example, Lighthouse API to export everything and then represent. So that's how you usually keep track of the performance, and you can discuss with the devs. Um, when you so the process will be, yeah, start tracking and keep monitoring, the changes. Then once you do the speed audit, so at some point, so essentially start of the year, when you start discussing with the devs, you do a proper in-depth speed audit. You don't just use PageSpeed Insight. You might be willing dig a bit deeper in dev tools, checking how the different JavaScript is being used. For example, if you right click, you use dev tools, you go into the coverage report, you can also see what's the percentage of the JavaScript you use. Again, when you use stuff like WordPress, they try to templatize everything, because you build a website, but you use libraries, and you might be using the same JavaScript for the home page, for the PLP, for the blog, but actually
yeah,
the home page is using 2% of the JavaScript. The blog is using 30% of the JavaScript. So you can discuss. So if it's a big client, they've got the budget and they've got devs with time to do this, you can start customizing so that you just use the function they utilize on the page, for example.
yeah. I
But
was
when
trying to show dev tools from the screen share, but it looks like it doesn't capture dev tools when I share the screen.
oh
Yeah,
um
but I think we can do it maybe sometime in the future. But I
yeah, yeah,
think
exactly.
your slide have the video, so maybe if
Exactly.
if you share the link to the slide,
Hmm.
perhaps people can go watch the slide, the videos in the slide.
Exactly. I can share the link to the speaker deck. I think from that link, because it's a PDF mainly, you won't be able to see the video. But I mean, feel free to reach out to me. I can put a link to download the deck from Drive, for example. Uh, or maybe Peter, we can have other. Again,
Yeah,
we can discuss a lot of stuff. So
if
maybe, you know,
if you are willing to do a part two to go in
yeah,
deeper into this, then I would consider this part one, like a beginner phase
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it, and then we set another standard and say, okay, this time we're making you uh, SEO and core web vital professionals.
yeah. Or maybe we can focus on the specific tools, or but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm happy. I mean, yeah,
so we can talk about that after the call and see figure out the dates in the future that
mhm,
works for you.
yeah. But yeah, another tool, just quickly, but another tool. So PageSpeed Insight, again, it's useful because you directly see what Google see,
Mhm.
and as we said at the beginning, it's important to understand what Google see, because we need to understand, is the biggest search engines. It's key for us to understand how they evaluate the site. But you can use other tools. For example, if you use webpagetest.org, it's a bit more comprehensive tool. So the type of insight you have, one, if you have the pro version, so the paid version, you can estimate the impact of the recommendation beforehand, before you actually implement stuff. You can do it in Sandbox and estimate the time saving, or which is quite handy. But you also have more specific recommendations. So they you can also see which type of code I need to put, which tags I can use. So it's
Mhm.
not like Google saying, hey, you've got render blocking, but yes, yes, you have render blocking, but this is the tag, those are the scripts you can try to test.
Yeah, okay.
That's webpagetest.org, which is a bit more specific.
Yeah, I shared the link in the chat. Probably drop it also in the description later.
Mhm.
Do you know of Speedcov if you've tried it?
No.
Okay. I think it's you, but I think it does synthetic monitoring.
Hmm.
But I think recently, or I don't know when they added it, it also does some real user monitoring, but I'm not sure
Okay.
to what
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I mean, maybe we can have another episode about just web page test, because it's a very good tool. There is a lot you can do, but there you've got both the field data and lab data. But essentially, there you can specify, for example, the location, the speed, the device you want to use for the test. You can specify the number of tests. You can specify just one test, one off, or repeated tests, which is also useful because essentially the first time you test is the performance as if you are a new user.
Hmm.
So you see everything the first time. The repeated test is the performance you see if you come back and you are not a new user. So essentially, if you've got caching, you don't upload everything the second time you come to the website, but performance is faster, which is a bit different.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, put simply, you can do a lot inside web page tests, so maybe you know matter for content for another episode. I don't know, but
Yeah, I think I would love to plan that to have you again,
mhm.
so we can do it more deeply.
Yep.
Um, Not to take much of your time, is there any other resource you would recommend for learning about this web performance? I mean, I've recommended web.dev before
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
the previous shows, but maybe you have something different.
yeah. I've got some favorite tools. For example, so Yellow Lab Tools, which is like a small handy tool.
Yellow
But
lab.tools.
yeah, yeah, it's a bit a bit of a weird URL, but it's Yellow Lab Tools, um, which is like a smaller. So if you compare to Page Speed Insight or Web Page Test, I mean, it's way smaller. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can find some gold nuggets there, because it's also, for example, suggesting which CSS changes you can do to optimize the style sheet, the CSSs, or how many fonts you use, and this is what you need to reduce, for example.
Oh,
Um, but
that's
I can
nice.
also share with the link to the speaker there, because even in the deck I presented the Brighton SEO, there were a lot of links to the tools.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe share it. If you have it here, you can drop it in the Ninja chat. Otherwise, send it to me on LinkedIn later, and then I add it in the comments.
Yes, you can. I mean, I've got the one. Let me find it. Okay, I've got a link to. all the decks, but this should be the one to the cover vital. So we have it.
Yeah. So just LinkedIn. So final question would be where can people find you, learn more about your work, maybe engage you or learn more about what you do? I know your website is under construction.
Exactly. I mean, yes. I'll try to build my own website. So I used to be self-employed. So essentially, back in the day, I was avoiding to be very vocal as Manu, as a person. It was all about the brand and all the social media. So I was everywhere, but I wasn't because it was all about the company, not about
Yeah.
Manu. So I'm using some of the accounts. So if you look at LinkedIn, yeah, of course it's me. Twitter, there is a link. If you check the deck, there is a link. That's me. Yeah, I've got everything really. But I would say if you want, it's best to connect and follow me on LinkedIn because I
Okay.
try to post more there. Yeah. I will try to build my website and a blog so I can post stuff there too. I'm trying to be more active, so do my own podcast, and post more on YouTube. But again,
Yeah. And please
follow
share
me
the
on LinkedIn.
podcast. I think that's the one you said you talk about technical SEO.
Yeah, that was yes, that was a collaboration with Oncroll. So it's Oncroll hosting, but if you look for me on YouTube, at least
Okay.
you can find some videos. You can also find the previous Brighton SEO talks, at least two. But yeah.
Cool.
But I mean, I would say reach out on LinkedIn is the best way, and try to be more visible or do more elsewhere.
Awesome. I think that's been amazing. And hopefully the audience, the ones that joined and maybe the ones that left and hopefully will watch again later, hope they enjoyed it. Join again next week. We have another stream, but this time it's a bit off tangent from web performance. We will be discussing more about DevOps and Kubernetes, people leaving Kubernetes for a different setup. So if that fancies you, join us next week. Otherwise, look forward, subscribe to the channel. I don't know where the button will be, but subscribe. I will definitely try to get Manu back so we can go deeper into the topic, and I also have like amazing future guests. So thank you, Manu, for the time and speaking deeply about this topic. And I hope we can see you again soon.
No, yeah, likewise, Peter. It's been a real pleasure. Very nice conversation. It was saying we didn't plan anything. We didn't prep, so it
No
was
problem.
just
I
pure
like it that
simple,
way.
genuine. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It was a genuine conversation. We were literally discussing stuff, which is always great. No, but yeah, super nice to be here. Thank you. And then I will join you next episode as well because sounds interesting. So I'll be following that one if you join.
All right. Thanks a lot. See you all in the future.
Thank you.